Check. What's up, y'all? Yo, check. Can y'all hear me? Check it out. Check. What are we doing? We are doing... Hang on, I gotta fix this. We're gonna draw... window capture. Uh-oh. Hang on. What happened? Outrage. Yeah, that's what we want. Alright, here we go. There's our window. There's our outrage window. What camera is this? No, we don't have a camera there, so we're just gonna delete that. Remove. Okay. Where are we gonna put the chat? We gotta put the chat somewhere. So let's put the chat. What is that? Chat? Oh, there's the chat right there, but I don't see it. Gonna be in the chat. Let's see. I'll read only. YouTube. Oh, I gotta sign in to the chat. Like that. I see. So I can talk to the chat like that. I guess we're not going to see the chat then. Oh well. Fuck it. Remove. We can just make this screen bigger then. No, we can't, huh? Nah. Oh well. That's cool. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Can you guys hear me? Hello. I don't even have headphones on. Damn, what a scumbag I am. I was just gonna draw today. I was just going to do some drawing. You know what I mean? Little bit of drawing here and there. Like what am I doing here? I am... Jesus criminy. I almost fucking died. Okay. We're okay. We're okay, ladies and gentlemen. Damn it. That was crazy. So I'm just showing you, I'm gonna show you what I got here. Here I got a, this is a Huion, I guess, is the name of the company. Huion. Huion. It's a 13-inch tablet. It comes with a pen, a special pen with a button, and but it projects the screen, so whatever screen I want I can project, and so I can put apps on it, like this app is called Outrage. Outrage is, see how it has like the selections down here on the left hand side right here. It has paintbrush, you know what I mean, and it's like realistic to how a real paintbrush would act, and I can change the settings completely, the pressure, the depth, I mean the gloss, the color, if it interacts with other layers or not, how long the layer goes, I can have different layers. I can have, I like the paint roller. The paint roller is kind of cool. You know what I mean? What are these? These are like stickers that I can import. So, let's see if we imported that. I don't know how that works. Let's see. I'm new to this whole software too. This is like the, wait, what is this? This is like the pen. This is, oh, this is like, I don't know. What is that? Oh, and the cool thing about the Hawaiian is that it has buttons. It has buttons, right? So, all these are buttons. So, like, you can attach different settings or different keystrokes to each button. So, like, I obviously, like, usually put undo, back, change brush is a button. So you don't have to constantly go over to the menu and select a menu and have it do something obnoxious. So you just hit the button and it just undoes it. So today I am what am I doing here? This is like my logo. So this logo, you know what I should do? I should do the whole screen so you could see the whole screen. Nah, that's alright. So this is my logo, and it's an exclamation point because I do a lot of computer graphics, stuff like that, and so I like, like, my name is Miko, right? Meeko. And so when I saw, I used to do my name like this, like a parentheses V exclamation point 3 I greater than or less than symbol and a 0, right? So then when I saw this symbol, it reminded me of an M. So basically, for Miko, this is my M. You know what I mean? So that's my logic. That's my logic for for this process. You know what I mean? That's why I have an exclamation point for a logo. So what I was doing today is I don't know. I was messing around with it. Figured I'd throw a live up there, just in case anybody on their screen and how cool it is. It's actually like one of the coolest things you could do to digitally paint, because you can get things that look, man, they look so real. It just looks amazing. So you can get it to look almost lifelike, really. So that's why the digitally painting thing is really bitchin'. And is my Facebook, am I broadcasting on Facebook? Let's see here. I should be. I don't see a I don't see an alert in my, let's go check YouTube. I don't even know if we're broadcasting. It says we're broadcasting, but it says we're broadcasting, but I don't see my stream, so I'm just gonna go check it out. Where are we? Learn to digitally paint, right? Is that our multi-stream? I'm just gonna make sure my settings are up here. Let's see, view the live stream in a web browser. Let's check that out. Oh, I see it. There it is. Learn to digitally paint. Yeah, we're on, but I am Nico Mason. Okay. Well. Alright, well, I guess let's just keep rolling. Okay. Alright, well. Looks like we're up. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's put on some music. Get into a little vibe here. You know, we gotta get a good vibe going. What do we want to hear? You know, I've been rocking out to Billie Eilish lately. It's pretty dope. I'm actually gonna play it here. You know, I'm gonna play one of my new song real quick, and let's just take a listen to it and see if it's any good. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence. I don't know if I like it or not. Let's see. Maybe you guys can tell me what you think. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. iRig, yeah, we're on iRig. What the fuck? That's my new song. That's the new song I just wrote. I mean, I didn't write it recently. I actually wrote it a long time ago. I decided to take a lot of the old songs that I did that I never quite finished or added vocals to, and basically re-record them now that I have the good software and the good mic, and I have all the stuff. So I'm redoing a lot of my old songs, and that's one of them. So what I'm doing here is I am basically just I'm outlining the logo because I wanted to do some stuff with it, paint it, change it, like just do some hand drawings of the logo. So I'm outlining the logo with a standard pencil brush. And then I will man, it's harder than it looks. It really is. See, the cool thing is you can take the eraser. Well, that's the smudge brush, sorry. You can take the eraser and, man, erase it just like a real drawing. It's so bitchin'. To do digitally painting is so cool. Okay, so we're gonna get these hard lines done. They don't even have to be perfect, like it really doesn't. I don't know why I'm such a sometimes I'm a stickler for perfection. Like, especially with my music, I'm really hard on myself and making things perfect, you know, or things have to be right perfectly all the time. So I don't have to be like that. I just am. But I'm trying not to be, so maybe you guys can help me with that. Fuck it. Okay, so looks like we got the outline here done. Just the outline, it's just a basic outline of the exclamation point, as you guys can see. And so what do I want to do with it? Let's see. You know what, I'm gonna add a window to this live so you guys can see the whole monitor display. You can see the whole display, so let's add that. That's gonna be, I'm gonna show display number, what number is that? Yeah, I guess number 0. It's fucking huge. Oh, let's make it smaller. Oh wait, what's our output? Oh, it must be what is our output? I didn't even check it. I hope it's not too small. I hope it's not too small for you guys. I got an idea. Let's make that another So let's cut it out of there and put it in like let's make a duplicate scene. So let's do that, and then let's add that. If it does, I don't know if it will. Or not. Let's get that out of there. And then let's just add a display capture. Oh, looky there, it's our viewers. I wonder how many we got. Playing none.
Nico?
What?
I have a something for your mom.
What is it? Oh, thank you.
Birthday cake.
Thank you. Can I don't know what the fuck that was. Huh? Whatever. Okay, so now you guys can see the whole screen. And I was going to do some searching for like I don't know, some stuff to paint if we want. Let's put this, this is just how many viewers we have, which we have none, which is typical. But it's okay. We'll get some someday. It just needs to go out front. Okay, so we're gonna put this on a different screen so you guys can't see that. You don't need to see it. This is our. Okay, so let's see.
Because I'm
Oh shit.
Skillshare. They are amazing. They have supported my channel so many times and they continue to do so.
It's fucking weird. Whatever.
bottommost layer. In this piece, I'll lay a dark gray and begin adding some rough values, and in my process, I will begin with a grayscale painting and then add color after I've done all the detailed image of what I wanted the facial structure to look like and how I use them. So I will never use a textured brush for the sketch because it will make it look stiffer and rougher. So once I have a rough idea of the composition and the foundations of the piece, I will create a new layer on top of the previous and use a darker and smaller feathered round brush to start drawing the tight sketch. This is the stage in which using a reference photo is important. It will help you understand the face's proportions more accurately. So in this piece, I personally didn't use a reference photo because I was lazy and I already had an image of what I wanted her facial structure to look like since I am painting Coraline and she has a pretty iconic facial structure. I kind of made it a little bit more realistic, but I still kept the long nose and sort of a rounder face with a pointed chin. So I already knew what I wanted it to look like, and I personally understand anatomy fairly well, and if you can see the finished piece, it still looks a bit off from reality. So I recommend using reference unless you personally master anatomy. For me, one particular struggle that I had for this piece was drawing the hands since I didn't use any reference photos. Personally, I still was able to make do, and I can manage to get away with it in an okay fashion, but it would have looked super good if I had taken the time to properly reference the hands and the face. Pro tip, use reference. Don't do what I did, not using reference. It still worked out, but I do have a really good understanding of anatomy, I think. So with that being said, the piece still didn't turn out extremely anatomically correct, so I'd always recommend using reference. I will usually hide the layer of the first rough sketch since it doesn't really contribute to the final piece at all. If you like it and you think it contributes, just leave it in there, but I usually just will hide the layer. And the next step is going to be on the bottommost layer. In this piece, I'll lay a dark gray and begin adding some rough values, and in my process, I will begin with a grayscale painting and then add color after I've done all the details and painted everything. So different people paint different ways. I will paint in grayscale and then add color afterwards, and I'm just going to show you how I do that. This helps me focus on lighting. So in my pieces, I find lighting a lot more interesting than color, so I always like to focus on values and creating interesting lighting situations, and then I'll worry about colors afterwards, and in so doing, I am able to tweak the colors a lot, and if I don't like a particular color scheme, I haven't worked 4 hours on a painting to just, darn it, I don't like the colors, I have to start over. I can just erase that layer where I add the colors that might take me 10 or 20 minutes, and I can start over if I want to. I'm still using the same feathered round brush as before, and I'm going to be using light pressure to blend smoothly so that when I begin painting everything, I don't have to work extra hard to blend all the tones. That's kind of my trick, is using a fluffy brush. I don't have to worry about all the hard edges created when I'm laying down all the values. A lot of people will use harder brushes and they kind of like that texture in their pieces. I like it to be very smooth and painterly, and I don't want to see too many harsh lines, so I will just use a soft brush. In this stage, I don't just lay down flat tones, I use it as an opportunity to add shadows and subtle highlights. One thing I would caution you about is don't add harsh highlights until the very end of the painting. What is going to happen is that you're going to begin blending those highlights into the tones around it, and then lose that pop that you were going for, so you're going to keep going lighter and lighter until you have tones that are way too light for the piece. Way kind of amateurish, so I definitely recommend saving bright highlights for the very end, and it also makes it very satisfying when you can add those highlights at the end. So you very rarely ever need to use pure white in paintings. I very rarely use pure white in paintings. I don't think I have used actually pure white in a painting for years, so don't worry about using bright white, it's not important. You would be surprised at the impact that darker colors have on your piece. I usually try to go too dark than too light because it's much easier to edit the final piece rather than if I overexpose everything. Once you have all the tones and values where you want them to be, it's time to paint. Super exciting! I create a new layer over everything, and then I will use a soft round but kind of peach brush, textured brush in Krita. It's the glossy oil brush if you're using Krita and if you're interested, but anything that is soft and has a subtle brush texture on the edges is perfect. For this stage, it's extremely important to use both the color picker and soft pressure to create smoothly blended areas. Since I paint with my left hand, my right hand is always on keyboard shortcuts, and I personally recommend using the color picker and brush side shortcuts the most. I'll always have my thumb on the control key, which is the color picker, and And then my middle finger and my ring finger on the bracket keys, because those will make the size of the brush bigger or smaller. It's just very comfortable position for the hand. And if you're left-handed and you use Krillin, there you go. That's how I do it. So when I'm painting, I like to jump around on the painting so that I don't get bored or tired of one area, or so that I don't overwork that one area. Moving around helps me create a more balanced idea of the final product. And so, since this is the most tedious part of the process, you have to be very wary of becoming impatient. I become impatient a lot. So if you are, make sure to step away from the painting whenever you begin to feel tired or bored of it. I often make the mistake of rushing a piece when I'm getting tired of working on it, instead of just letting it sit for a day. And that in the end is kind of sad, because I'll rush through the last portion of the painting just because I really want to get it over and done with, and then I'll have a sloppy painting in the end that I look back at and I'm like, I kind of want to fix that one thing right there. So really be patient, give yourself time to finish the painting properly, and to not overlook any details that might bother you in the end if you don't actually properly paint them. I recommend listening to an audiobook or music or a show if you can, and devote enough time to the piece for it to look the way you envisioned. So now when it comes to overworking the piece, don't keep refining if you don't see the need to. The amount of time that you spend on a piece is irrelevant if the finished product looks good, and if the face took you just 20 minutes to paint and you're satisfied with it, that's awesome. I've made the mistake of overworking pieces just because I didn't think I devoted enough time to them, which in retrospect is so counterproductive, and I really regret that. So if you have a piece that you've worked on for what you consider too little time, but it looks the way you want it to, that's good. Don't do anything else to it. On the flip side of that, if you've been working on a piece for hours and hours and it's going nowhere, maybe the problem lies in your face. If you don't have a good foundation with your sketch and your values, your painting technique might be excellent, but it might not be good enough to save the piece. So make sure that you are satisfied with the sketch and the values before you begin painting. I think that's extremely crucial. Don't make the mistake of seeing a lot of flaws in your sketch and your values and be like, I'll fix that with details and painting later. One thing that can help you a lot is flipping your image. So by flipping it horizontally, you get to see it in a new perspective, and it's much easier to identify problems if you make it a habit of flipping the canvas every once in a while. If you do it too much, you might become desensitized to seeing the problem, so don't do it too much, I would say. But I think it's a great thing to do if you're kind of stuck in. I think that something might be off. If you flip it, you will probably see the problem with your anatomy or your composition. So once all that is out of the way and you have your grayscale painting finished, you have all the details, it's time to color. Adjustment layers are going to be your best friend from this point onward. You're literally just going to be adding filters to this piece, like the same way that you would do it to a photo that you're going to post to Instagram. You're just going to be adding filters. This is the fun part. This is super easy, and you get to experiment a lot with this. First off, for this piece, I wanted to add a little bit more brightness emanating from the moon, so I added a new layer that was a color dodge layer, and I just used a soft round brush to add a little bit of lightness back into the piece. I kept the opacity of this color dodge layer pretty low because I didn't want a crazy dramatic scene, but it's up to you whatever you do on your subject and your piece. And so next, I'm going to start adding colors, and that I do on the soft light adjustment layer. So with the same soft round brush again, I will begin painting different colors and tones that I want in the piece. This part takes some fiddling around with, and you will just have to figure out how to best choose colors. I can't really explain it, but if you just look at the colors I'm selecting on the color wheel for this step, it should help you a little bit. It's not going to be like you want the skin tone to be peachy, so you're going to go on the color wheel and choose a peachy skin tone. You're going to kind of have to choose something a little darker and more saturated than you would imagine you need for that, and it's going to show up on the soft light layer differently. It's very hard to explain, but if you mess around with it, you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. And one problem you're going to have is that the colors will be pretty dull, but that's totally okay. What I do for that is I will duplicate that layer and turn down the opacity to around half, so this will add more vibrancy to the colors and have them look a little bit more like what you want them to look like. However, I'm sure they're still going to be pretty dark and not exactly how you envision the piece to look. But this is where we're going to add more adjustment layers. So I'm going to use more adjustment layers to begin tweaking the hue, the saturation, and the color curves. Feel free to play around. There isn't a specific way to use filter layers, but I mainly focus on the color adjustment curves. First, I'll adjust the brightness and contrast with the RGB curve, and then I'll go through each individual channel and play around until I get the desired end product. It's completely up to you, just something you have to fiddle around with. I can't tell you how best to do it, but it's really fun to do, so I think you're going to have a good time with it. You can leave the piece here if you're content with it. I usually will, but for this painting I wanted to add just a couple more details, so this is kind of like my complete painting process. I don't do this for every single painting, but when I feel like I need a little bit more, I will keep going. For this piece I was getting tired and I wanted to be finished with it, so I decided to step away from it for the night and then to return to it in the morning when I was focused again, which I'm very happy I did because the piece ended up pretty cute and much more how I envisioned it. I played around with the adjustment layers again, and when I was pleased with the tones, I created a new normal layer over everything and began refining details with the same painterly oil brush that I used before. The technique I used for this part is the same as before when I was just painting details on the grayscale layer, using the color picker and a light touch to blend everything properly. I just went over a lot of the details that I left unfinished and in a sloppier state, and once I was finished cleaning everything up, I assigned my name. So that is my full process for digital paintings. I always use the same brush and techniques. The only thing that really changes between paintings is how many layers I will use for a piece. For bigger paintings or ones with more details, I will use a lot more layers just to be on the safe side. So for this one, I did use 17 layers. They just kind of stack up on top of each other. You're not going to realize you're doing it. Be stressed about it.
Wow.
But for smaller studies and sketches, I
See
honestly
that?
might just
It's
use
amazing.
3 total layers. It's up to
That
you.
chick
It
really
doesn't
knows what
matter how
she's
many
doing,
you use
man.
at all if you have the desired product. Don't feel pressured to put in a million layers or to just work on 1 or 2 because you want it to be closer to traditional drawing. If you want to do traditional drawing, just do traditional drawing. Don't focus on digital painting. The tools like the Control Z and the color picker and the layers that you have in digital paintings are what makes digital painting its own art form and its own medium. So take advantage of those and don't shy away from them. Okay, my throat hurts because I've been talking for forever, and I really hope that I conveyed my painting process to you clearly. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer any if I know the answer. And of course, check out the link in my description for the free 2-month trial to Skillshare. Thank you so much to them. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry that I've been gone for so long, but I am doing my best to come back. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks so much for still being here after 2 months of being gone. But I will hopefully talk to you guys soon. I'm going to try to keep posting videos, and hopefully since I've just finished 2 online classes, I will have a little bit more time to devote to YouTube. So I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Alright, later, dude. She is really good. Man, she's amazing. I wonder what else. Let's check out some of her other stuff.
Hey everyone, Dave Greco here, and welcome back to the channel. So first off, before we get started, you get to witness my quarantine haircut that we shaved on the back porch. So I'm trying to make it all work here. So tonight, what we're going to get started on is a portrait piece. And I've actually been trying to find little places of inspiration to get me back painting again. You know, I actually love finding all those draw this in your own styles challenges that you see all over Instagram. Sometimes it's a good way to kind of break some rust off just to start painting. So I found one. We're going to do our own version. I'm going to try to record in real time as much of the process as we can. So I have a piece ready to go that I'm going from. We're going to start from scratch. So let's hop on over. Alright, before we get started, I'd like to have a shout out to Cath Pun and their Instagram. I'll have a link down to it below for an amazing draw this in your own style. So definitely go check out their Instagram. Some fantastic art over there. So thank you so much. Alright, let's get started. So I ended up doing the recording in 3 times speed. The entire painting took about 2 hours. I just thought that might be a little long to talk through the whole thing for YouTube. But this should be plenty slow to still be able to tell what's going on, and I can kind of talk about what I did previously. So basically I showed you a quick picture of what we're going to be working on and what I'm getting the inspiration from. So what I usually want to do right off the bat is have, really finding the forms of the face. I have like a picture in my head on what I want to do, and I really want to just do quick lines all over this thing. I want to keep my hand moving all over the canvas. I'm not going to spend too much time like on the nose or the ear or the mouth or anything like that. I just want to keep working and keep moving. I think nice, loose, quick lines to start a piece is one of the best ways to handle anything, and it gives your piece a lot of energy off the get-go. I think if you start really stiff, it's hard. You can't really loosen it up later, I think as you render a piece, it's going to harden up on its own. So it's good to stay kind of loose, keep those ideas flowing, and so that's kind of what we're doing right here. I'm just trying to find a lot of like hairlines and movement and shape, while still kind of trying to figure out some anatomy stuff. It's also good to do a nice flip as soon as possible. You don't want to wait too long, because then you always get people that look like they're kind of sliding to an angle, or so it's always messy if you wait too long to do your canvas flips. I used to have a big problem with that way back early in my career, where I would take way too long to flip the canvas and then have to do a lot of fixing down the road. It would always scare me when I realized I worked on a piece for 8 hours without flipping it once. It's almost like you didn't want to do it. So I'm still trying to figure out a lot of the hair shapes. I'm still staying in the sketch phase. I'm not trying to clean up too early. I remember when I first started sketching it, I actually did this piece this morning, I was going for like a really long neck at first. I ended up shortening it up a bit, just because it looked a little too crazy once I started rendering. So I didn't spend too long in this phase, and you'll actually even see that I actually didn't spend a lot of time at all in the black and white. I'm actually trying to spend less time in the black and white as I used to. I feel like I can skip a couple steps and knock some time off a piece if I just can get into the color. So what I usually do with any piece, I have that kind of original loose drawing. We'll kind of knock it back a layer and then spend this time to do like a little bit of a cleaner line drawing. I don't have to go crazy. I'm not doing like a super clean, edgy line drawing for the whole thing. I would like to kind of spend time and figure out a lot of shapes. When I paint and draw, I create a lot of this stuff kind of as I go. I have a loose idea to start, but a lot of the shapes and color and light, I kind of figure it out, throughout the entire process. I'll figure out what works and what doesn't, and then maybe I'll get some ideas for a different part of the painting as I go. So that's always part of it too. I'm trying to find some more specific shapes on how the ears are working. There was some very unique looking ears in an original sketch, so I thought that was pretty cool. Like always, I want to find at least some cool hair shapes that I can have some fun with. That's always super important to me. And there's actually a couple things I want to talk about even while the sketch is going on. And I've talked to a couple other artists recently, and I think it's something that I think a lot of us should be talking about. And it's how do you stay creative, when life gets a little crazier, gets a little more stressful, and it's something that I've had to deal with the past few weeks, especially since we're all stuck inside. And I think we're on about 5 weeks here. And for me, I had a really hard time, at least the first few weeks, feeling creative and pushing myself to draw. I felt like some projects fell to the side. It's hard when reality gets a little more real, if that makes sense, and how you spend time engrossed into a painting of a weird elf, right? So, but as, things change, you get back to feeling like yourself again. It's been easier for me to kind of crack open and get that creative juice again. But I think the biggest thing I want to bring up is don't feel guilty about it. I think it's easy for a lot of us, most artists, to feel guilty when we're not painting, even when it's normal out. We feel if we're playing too many games, or we're doing something else, you feel guilty that you're not creating as much. And I'm completely guilty of that myself, so I felt even guiltier that I wasn't creating, I wasn't producing content, I hadn't been streaming. And so I just want to bring it up to everybody else that I think we all share that, and I just don't really want people to not be so hard on themselves, because I think a lot of us are through a lot of this. But we'll find our footing again and find our creativity and get back into doing what we love. And I'm really starting to kind of feel that energy and creation myself right now. And so in this piece, I actually felt a lot of it coming back to me. So I think sometimes it might just take one or two pieces to really kind of fall in love with what we've been doing for so many years, right? So I think that's a good discussion. You guys can always throw down in the comments below how you're feeling, how your creativity's doing. You know, I think it's a good time for us to kind of all hone our skills, being at home and staying healthy and safe and all that, and really kind of push ourselves. You know, I would like to actually work on some different ways of tackling some characters in the future. Maybe work on some more really clean line drawings with doing some like flat color shapes underneath. You know, I wouldn't mind kind of changing my own process. So right here, you see, I actually didn't spend a ton of time in black and white. You know, I tried to get some of that red lighten layer, and I've actually been toning down that a little bit, but the piece that was shown actually had a lot of that happening, so I figured we could take advantage. So right here, I really want to just splash around as much kind of color as I can real quick. Almost the same idea as when we were sketching at first. I almost want to do the same thing with color. You know, I'm just splashing some reds and blues around, so some areas that might feel cooler. I knew I wanted to be a light piece, like especially on a whitish background. I didn't want the contrast to be too crazy, but I didn't know kind of what colors I was going to be doing in her hair. And I also had the same idea in my head that like I didn't want the pinks and peach
really
colors to also look like the same as her flesh. It might get confusing around her face if it just looked all the same. So I was trying to think of kind of like what kind of really platinum blonde with some pinks in there, what that might look and read like. So I'm really kind of using some pretty heavy shapes and brush strokes over a lot of the line drawing. See, I don't mind too much because I know I'm going to kind of paint in more line drawing after the fact to kind of figure out where those little strands of hairs are, right? And so this, I can kind of slow down a little bit. I don't have to be so manic about the entire piece. I can kind of figure out like, oh, we can do these shapes on the lips. And so one other thing I actually noticed when I was working on the piece is I was putting a complete blindfold on her, and then I was looking at the other piece, and it looked like you could see her eyes slightly. And I thought that was pretty cool because I think a character can lose a lot if you don't see any eyes at all. But I didn't want it to be like some weird transparent plastic on her face, so I don't want to totally see her eyes. But I figured getting the shape in place of her eyes right here might kind of help me figure out what we want to do. I think at one point I actually kind of slowly erase most of them, since it kind of changed the direction of the piece. It's always worth trying some things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. You know, it's easy to just erase or knock that layer right off. I think I was kind of messing with what I might be doing. And a lot of my process right now is kind of cleaning up the line drawing underneath, which is actually part of the process of my own that kind of drives me crazy. That's something I might be kind of looking to fix. So I'm really looking at a lot of kind of the negative space between the hairs and how they interact with the face, and if they feel pretty good, and then refiguring out some of the folds on the mask and how that might kind of overlay on her eyes. You can tell from this flip, I think the face is still pretty skewed. It's not totally balanced. I think that's something I'll definitely go back and tackle and fix. The same thing, I'm trying to build up my values pretty slow also. Like, she's gonna have pretty light skin. I want to kind of at least paint out a lot of those kind of like gray sketch marks underneath. It can be a little distracting, and sometimes it's hard to make decisions while still seeing those. One of the things I always like to do too with the upper lips, I like to have a slight fade on the top of the upper lip. I don't like it to have like a nice, to have a hard edge line. And so it's usually lately trying to find these little areas of a person's face that I can kind of do these small little tweaks to make them feel a little bit better. I kind of give myself like little small goals with repainting, how I either tackle the nostrils or maybe like kind of reapproach how I tackle kind of a lower lip or the shadow underneath the lip. It's something I've tried to be semi-focused on. It's usually right now, I'm not like 100% sure kind of where I'm going with a lot of it, but I just know I can slowly tackle each part, kind of one step at a time, and then hope I can kind of find my way through the piece. So I think even at ×3 right now, I think it's a good speed to watch this. I think at normal 1 times could probably drag out a little bit, because there might even be periods where I just stare at it. We want a little bit more than that. So it's really carving out, trying to figure out where the nostrils are. I think it's really just slowing your brain down sometimes. It's like, yeah, you want your brain to go really fast at the beginning to kind of hit up all these different parts of the body and the face. But like, if you're working on a nose or working on a mouth, slow down and get specific, like kind of mentally on it, like, why is this nostril doing this? Why is it curving in here? Why is there a little bit of light hitting right here? And really just spend time and focus on that. So I'm suddenly trying to figure out some of these shapes of the hair. I can start to tell that after I kind of covered up one of the eyes, that some of the direction where I was going was starting to go in a place that I like. I can tell when I was working on it that like I was starting to feel that momentum. You know what I mean? You guys will work on a piece and it feels like you're kind of like lost in the woods or just treading water. You're like, I don't know where this is going, but something hits at one point. You put like a certain part of lighting in, or the contrast is working really well, and you're like, oh, damn, this is starting to actually come together. And then you get excited, and then it's basically all you want to work on until you finish. Like, you can't work on any other art till you are at least close to finishing that one. You know, I think once I started that left side of the face and filling out the hair here, I started to feel that kind of energy that I liked where this was going. I could kind of tell. I think especially once I started getting a little bit more of the pinks added into the hair, it started feeling pretty good. And also, by the way, so the brushes used on this really is just my DG main and the DG underbrush, which you can check out. Link below for all the brushes that I use on almost every painting you see here. It's the exact same brush pack. I use that DG main a lot on my paintings. Probably overuse it, but it paints the way that I'm painting right now, and so I don't really go a ton of reasons to use another one. It just works for me right now. So it's really kind of just like cascading my way across the painting, trying to fill in these little gaps. It's like, how's this little hair strand work right here? How's it working right here? And continually up the forehead, I might bounce back and see some shapes that I like, see some colors that I like, and it's always kind of like figuring out where else can work in the piece. Yeah, so same thing, so just trying to model sides of the hair. And at one point, you know, I always know in my head that I'm going to have to venture across the painting and almost do the exact same thing on the other side, which can kind of like be mentally draining sometimes, but you know, you have to get over there and tackle it. So sometimes I'm always trying to figure out, you know, how dark do I make the shadow underneath the lower lip. Sometimes you can get pretty extreme with that shadow. Sometimes you can be more subtle with it. So that's something that I've been playing with lately. And also the shadow underneath the nose. You know, sometimes you can go too extreme with those shadows. Sometimes you don't have to have anything at all. And I actually decided to kind of break from like a real mask. I felt like these cuts in the mask gave like a nice little shape to it. Even if a normal mask wouldn't have a cut and fold in that unless it was like glued to her face. But I just liked how it looked, and you know, sometimes that just wins out. If you like how it looks and it still fits into the realm of believability within your piece, then I think it's worth doing. So I knew I was gonna jam in some. I felt like getting some more saturated color underneath her jaw and her chin, and really kind of figuring that area out, and that really spoke to me a lot. And I wanted to kind of jam that out all over. Especially once I start getting some actual lighting on her neck, because you always want to make sure your head feels like it's coming forward from your neck, right? And it's not sitting on this exact same plane. And that's how I kind of figure out a lot of colors as I go. So some of that kind of saturated pink that I have down below, I kind of tucked into sections of her hair above. So it kind of was popping from the top and the bottom. It was kind of, your eyes would kind of bounce in between with her face right in the middle. So that's why I kind of figure out so much as I go. That's why my thumbnails and everything are probably such a mess. I just like discovering the piece as I work on it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it definitely does not. But it's a nice little adventure to go on sometimes. And same thing, I want to bring some of that into the bottom of her horns. I thought it'd be pretty cool. You know, I think even at the end of the piece, I could have put a lot more time into the horns, but I don't think they actually needed it. I felt like it was fine without. They did the trick, they're readable what they were. I think you could totally overwork a part of a painting that may not be super important. I think leaving those loose brush strokes are pretty nice sometimes. So same thing, I'm just cleaning up a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of like undersketch down below that I'm trying to clean up. Highlighted areas, even if they're subtle. So you'll see me kind of go back and forth a lot trying to work all those areas. And sometimes I do spend a lot of time having a real gradual blend on the bottom of the chin and the jaw, because it's important that it looks like it kind of slowly bends around and then goes back, and it's not like a super hard edge. You know, sometimes a hard edge will be totally fine, but other times I like to, especially if it's rendered out enough, I want to feel like it lives in space. So me, I had to spend a little bit of time figuring out how her neck should actually be shaped before I kind of had it too much like some weird tube coming down. So it's good to kind of figure out where all the muscles are. And you know, that's actually one thing too. I don't spend a ton of time on her shoulders and collarbone area. I kind of give some general shapes. I just didn't think it was the focus of the piece. I think sometimes the loose brush strokes down there was kind of doing the trick. Yeah, so before I render anymore, you just kind of look over and notice that so much wasn't rendered, and I wanted to kind of at least get some color in there. Well, even her hair, even how I tackle her hair is a lot how I tackle even the characters I do with very long hair. You know, just trying to find these larger silhouettes and then slowly kind of cut lines to figure out some more interesting, smaller shaped areas of hair. And then kind of figure out where those shadows are and what highlights, and then kind of create unique shapes that are interesting to me within the hair. And that's why I love painting hair so much. It's almost like just working on some weird abstract piece. You don't have to worry too much about muscles or real lighting. You know, you just have to make shapes that feel nice and that work. And so really just kind of brushing in pretty much some quick color and shape. I go back and clean that up when I can. Make sure it's kind of, some of the edges are soft enough, and it's really just getting some small blending. And if you guys want, I have a really small YouTube tutorial on blending. It's really simple. It's really just kind of how I blend a lot of little areas together since I use the same brush. So you can definitely check that out in my video library if anyone is ever curious on how I blend. I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm sure it's pretty much the same. So same thing with the hair. I'm just finding like I just kind of carve in these little lines to kind of break up those little shapes at the top. And it's really just going through for a piece and finding cleanup. You know, I was pretty happy with the time that the piece took. You know, it really was, I think, a little under 2 hours. I think the full recording was 1 hour and 50 minutes, which was still a pretty good time for me. And I'm not trying to like speed paint this. I'm usually always trying to kind of clean up my process to get to a result faster. That's usually something any art director or client always appreciates if you can work faster, but it's not usually something I'm just trying to do for the sake of painting quick. And this is actually an easier process for me to record and then kind of do voiceover after instead of talking while painting. This way I can actually concentrate on the painting a little bit more. And actually for this one, this was actually broken up into like 7 parts, especially with the family home. I have to stop painting constantly, turn the recording off, stop painting, come back, recording on, and keep going. So if you guys like this type of format and complete commentaries from start to finish, definitely let me know down below. I know this is pretty long for a YouTube video, but we'll have quick tutorials also, and then maybe some more of these in-depth ones. You know, I know people have a little bit more time to kill at home, so maybe just pop this on in the background and watch this whole process. I think if you can take even like a little thing from it, that's pretty major. See, it's really kind of falling in love with these little lines I can start carving into the hair. I can tell just adding that little thick line where it looks like it has like a little bit of depth on that part of the hair. Those are like the parts that I really love. And I spent a little bit of time at the end really finding some really nice clean line areas where I can make shapes pop out.
Man, this dude's rad.
So this was going back.
So let's see what he started with. He started with, look at this.
I remember when I first
that.
started sketching it, I actually did this piece this morning, is I was going for like a really long neck
Yeah,
at first. I ended up
fucking
shortening
nuts.
it up a bit, just because it looked a little too crazy once I started rendering. So I didn't spend too long, but
There
as
he goes.
creating, I wasn't producing content. I had as when we were
He
sketching at
starts
first.
painting.
I almost want to do the same thing with color. Yeah, I'm just splashing some reds and blues around. So
He's just like throwing color
lately
on there.
trying to find these little areas of a person's face that I can get specific, like kind of mentally on, like feel that kind of energy that I liked where this was going. I could kind of tell.
Wow.
And at one point, you know, I always know in my head that I have to venture across the painting and almost do the exact same thing on the other side, which can kind of like be mentally draining sometimes.
God.
But you know, you have to get over there and tackle it. Go on sometimes. Focus of the piece.
Wow. Man, this dude's a monster. These artists are amazing.
Yeah, even for the ears, I kind of just make some kind of weird earlobe specific for it. I don't think it's probably that necessary. Yeah, human ears, you should probably get pretty specific, look at some ear reference, figure out where all those folds are. But for these, like, kind of crazy ears, you can kind of... Yeah, I'm sure there's some better, quicker ways to tackle, like, these larger areas. But, you know, works for you. You know, it's easy to stick to. I think at one point I just snapped. I'm like, I know these sketchy lines are not going to be here. I just need to get rid of them. It's hard to make decisions on the rest of the piece with these crazy things all over the place. And so you can kind of carve outside of your painting with the outside color too, which is always a nice technique, and you know, something you do a lot with traditional work. That was a crazy. I think I realized that ear was actually a lot smaller than the other ear. I kind of looked where the bottom of it was compared to the other. That's why you saw that quick line come out. I realized it was actually almost like a third the way up compared to the other. I actually liked how large the other one is, especially when you tilt your head up like that. Your ears are going to be a little bit lower. Usually your nose kind of lines up with the bottom of your ear. But if you tilt your head up, they're going to shift down on your head a bit. And so same thing, just cleaning up the top of the hair. I'm kind of slowly trying to get rid of all that sketch stuff. And then once I get rid of a lot of that under sketch, I can spend more time just cleaning up the painting itself. It's usually my favorite part. I feel like at this stage, I'm usually kind of turn into like a rendering robot. I kind of go into like a daydream state and just start slowly pushing this out. I think I do want to start get some more kind of saturated color. I knew what the palette was at this point between these pinks and whites and the cool grays. I think I kind of tweaked her other horn too, because they're actually ones that spaced out. You know, I want to get more light on the upper cheek and cheekbone. Even though our cheekbone's kind of underneath her hair, but this can, you know, I definitely want, you know, highlight on the nose, some highlights on the lower lip. Sometimes you can get some on the chin, but sometimes I always feel like you get too much on the chin, the highlights everywhere else. So sometimes I kind of try to leave the but then kind of go in and those kind of subtle folds in your lips and your mouth. And figure out these little hair shapes. And sometimes some of these little random hairs that you just kind of, I don't know, you just kind of see it. Like, I added that kind of little swoopy one to the right. I just felt like it just needed like a little something kind of dangling there, just to give it like a little bit more life. I think if you don't have a couple of these little stragglers, that she might look like she has too much of a, you know, like a Lego hair or something. Sometimes I try to get some pretty close to the hairstyle from the original artist. And then I like having these kind of highlights that have already previously been done. I just get a little bit on the horn. Like I said, I don't spend much time rendering on the horn at all. Oh yeah, that's something I actually saw. So it actually looked like her head was a little... This is always a pain when you do it in the stage, especially how I paint hair. So you have all these lines that kind of break apart if you start doing shenanigans like that. But, you know, it's going to bother me if I don't do it. So sometimes you just have to suck it up and paint. I was getting even fatigued on some parts of this painting, just like even painting the other horn, just because the horn's not like super interesting for me to paint. I'm trying to make them, so I'm trying to, and I kind of just mentally copy that I did for the other horn. Trying to really kind of polish these little areas and really figure out some nice little line drawing shapes. And I have such a blast at this part of the painting. You know, the fear of creating something that might not work isn't there anymore. And like a kind of a free fall of fun and polish here. You know, finding how far can I push like the really lines, you know, what little areas of highlights can we add that really make the piece pop. I was always thinking about the ears, so they don't exactly match. I think that'd be cool. They got cuts and folds in different areas. You know, I don't know if she had them in battle or what her deal is. Like, a story for her right now, but she's such a great character. I really like her already. It definitely feels like a history to her. Either it's like she's been through so much, either it's been pain or something. She looks tired. Yeah, it's the same deal. Part, I actually thought about bringing past that shape where her bangs are. I think I brought up there in her head. I thought that might have been pretty cool. Because it really is just finding like line cleanup, more highlights, and more dark areas. You know, you always want to push the darks a little further, and you just keep expanding that more and more, you know, where your values start feeling pretty good. And so this is a piece. Spending so much time in the black and white, I feel like so much of my what colors worked, and I think not only did I save myself a lot of time, might have come out, you know, a little bit more in the color stage because I didn't. Yeah, so just try, but still having kind of anatomy that made sense, but I didn't want to get too crazy with it. I think on the original one she has this kind of like X white scar on her shoulder. I did polish after the recording, so you'll see in the final there might be like a couple small. I think I got that in the piece. Yeah, I just want to keep it loose with some nice little shapes just kind of cut in and kind of the focus of the piece isn't at the bottom, right? And then I can go back around and really kind of figure out the little small stuff. And that piece, guys, I can't believe it's already been over 30 minutes of this. So if you guys like this process, I'll show you guys the final, and I'll give you guys a link to what the final looks like on my Instagram if you want to check that out. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next one. We'll have a new tutorial out next week. I hope you liked the piece and enjoyed watching the process. Guys, thank you so much. Hope you guys just keep staying out there. Keep painting. Love you guys.
Wow, that was really fucking cool, man. That dude's really, really, really good. Stupid good. I don't even know how these guys get so good, man. I mean, years and years and years and years of practice, like, it's gotta be. There's nothing else, couldn't be nothing else, you know? Years of practice. Years and years. So this is mine. This is what I'm doing. I mean, it's stupid, kind of stupid looking, but I'm just kind of trying to follow a few of what tips that guy was giving us, and you know, I haven't even gotten into color really. I'm just doing the sketching part, you know. So my picture is that. I'm just doing an old shot of Kurt, Mr. Cobain there. I got the trace on it. I got it on trace. And so the trace is on a layer, and then I take my whatever I'm using, like in this one I'm using a lot of pencil, and I trace the spots that I think, you know, every artist is different. People do different things. Some people like a messy style, some people like a dark style, some people like a light, fluffy style. Some people don't, I don't know, everybody's different. So my style is kind of messy, not messy, liney, sort of dark. I like dark. I've always liked dark stuff, and I think scratchy, kind of, sort of. I don't know if you could call it, if that's a thing, but scratchy. You know what I mean? Like I scratch a lot of stuff. So like I'm doing the hair and. this mini bar. It's pissing me off. The dock. Yeah. So mine's pretty. These lines are really thin. I don't know how I got the lines so thin. Anyway, so yeah, that's my start. It's my Kurt Cobain start. I'll continue to like I would take the blender, like, and really lightly blend some of this darker stuff over here. I guess that's what the professionals say to do. So blend, figure out where the points of light are. That's a big thing with these guys. So if my points of light are, let's see. So light's coming from this direction, obviously. Light's coming from here down. You know what I mean? So we have to remember that and utilize that to the shading, for the shading. So there's other little tips and tricks. That's why I wanted us to watch the video, or a video or two, and watch these guys, the way they do their stuff, man. They have little tips and tricks that they use, and a lot of that stuff is really good to learn. So let's see, how long we've been on. We've been on live for 1 hour 20 minutes. That's an hour and a half, you guys. I guess I'm gonna call it a day. We didn't have many viewers, but hopefully we'll catch on one of these days, and we'll get some viewers. Alright guys, thanks a lot for checking out the stream. Obviously please comment, subscribe, and like, and if there's anything I'm doing that you want me to do, or you don't want me to do, or you want me to check out, then please don't hesitate to let me know, and we will try to do things as a community together. Alright guys, thank you. Have a good day, you guys. I still haven't figured out like a catchphrase for like my goodbyes. Like what am I gonna say? Peace out, or peace and love, baby, or catch you in the next one, or you know what I mean? Like I gotta figure out a catchphrase. You guys want to help me out with that? That'd be cool. Catchphrase me up, man. Come on, give me a motherfucking catchphrase. Alright? Thanks guys. See ya.